All right, so today I want to talk about this story out of LA, and it was actually from August 5th, so it was a while ago, but I still want to talk about it nonetheless. And it's LA Mayor Eric Garcetti announces he is authorizing the city to shut off water and power to any houses or businesses that are hosting any parties or unauthorized large gatherings. It will begin Friday night, and LAPD will respond, then contact DWP to cut it off. Now, again, um, for starters, I don't know how this can possibly be constitutionally even legal. I assume it would be challenged, but again, I don't see how it could be constitutionally even legal because then you're literally giving the government power to decide who gets water and power. And again, people will deny this, but you can also put it, okay, um, if this is the case, then why in the world aren't the BLM protests being shut down? Why are they not being shut down? And again, this is the massive contradiction that these people have, is that they're fully on board the BLM protests. And again, it doesn't matter what you think of the BLM protests. This is the thing that people always bring up, and then they'll say, oh, well, the BLM protests are legitimate because X, Y, and Z. But these protests aren't legitimate because they'll give you an example of, oh, they're protesting against 5G, or they're just having a random party. They don't need to do that. But again, that's not how the First Amendment works or free speech works. That's not how it works. There is no caveat or asterisk in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in Canada or the First Amendment in the States that says free speech is absolute or people get free speech, whatever it says, but there is no caveat that says unless, and these are the exceptions, or only if it's if the political cause is just. That's not what it says. It says free speech. There is no caveats. So this is the thing too, and included in the First Amendment is the right to peaceably assemble. Again, it doesn't. There's no asterisk on, oh, unless there's a pandemic or unless the government thinks that it's too dangerous. Like there's no asterisk. So again, this is the thing too, is that people say, oh, they on one hand they claim, oh, we're pro free speech, but on the other hand, they have a bunch of ifs, ands, and buts. Again, that's not how it works. Either you are pro free speech or you're not. There is no in betweens. The minute you have an if, and, or but, you are not pro free speech, because what you're literally saying is free speech depends upon people's political opinions or whether or not the government agrees with it. And again, this is the thing too, that people say, oh, it's okay. They think it's okay because it's their side. But imagine if Trump said, oh, well, guess what? No BLM protests anymore. What would you say? Well, you would say that is terribly unjust and he's acting as a dictator. But again, that's not the case. It's these leftist areas that are the ones shutting down protests, and they've been doing it for months. You had it in Edmonton, you had it in Toronto, you had it in many areas, and then all of a sudden George Floyd happened, and all of a sudden protesting was completely just and perfectly fine. Again, so this is the crazy thing, and that's the first thing I wanted to point out here. The other thing too is that this is the slippery slope. Again, people like to scoff and think, oh, there's no slippery slope, but yeah, there really is. First thing, again, the whole 15 days to flatten the curve, and then it ended up being 3, 4, 5 months. Some places are still locked down. Some places are calling to re-lock down. A lot of places have, for most places, I find, have forced masks out in public when there's no evidence to back it up. And not to mention, too, what happens when there's a vaccine? They're probably going to want to force that on people. What happens if people want to force contact tracing on people? This is the problem with this whole stuff. And this is the other thing when it comes to the whole mask thing, is that I would at least understand where people are coming from and give them some sympathy if there was a sunset clause worked into the whole mask thing. Let's say, we're going to make masks mandatory for starting whatever August 1st, and every 30 day, the minute that the cases drop, whatever, 20, 30, 40, 50%, and obviously the number couldn't be like 99 or 90% because that's completely unrealistic. It would have to be a realistic number. Then whenever that happens, the mandatory mask thing is automatically abolished. That would be the only way they would make it anywhere close to being understandable and understandable basically, but that's not what they do. And because the reality is that they basically want to make masks mandatory for at least a year, probably another year and a half. There's probably going to be a spike next winter because number one, there's always, second and third waves of this kind of stuff. Who knows? It may even become a seasonal thing. It may never go away. And the other thing too is that because people's immune systems have been weakened because they were forced to be locked down, now they're forced to wear masks. The flu will probably hit harder than normal, which is going to make things even worse. So that is another problem that's going to come out of this. And this is another problem that no one's talking about. And I think the reason why no one's talking about it is that the government wants to be able to re-lock down, or at the very least, implement more BS rules and regulations. That's what the government wants to do, because the government just wants more power. I don't care what side they're on. They just want more power, at least most of the time. There is the odd, good politician out there, but the vast majority on both sides are they just want more power. They don't care about reality. And you see this too in LA too. You see, or in California as a whole, even the world as a whole, is that they don't care about this kind of stuff. And this is the thing too, is that most people don't believe this garbage anymore. The amount of people who still support the lockdowns are few and far between. And again, most of these people are just people who blindly believe what the TV and the government tells them. Again, so this is just absolutely insane. This is just absolutely insane. And again, this is the slippery slope. And again, a lot of people probably will justify them, and it serves them right if they're gonna have these massive gatherings. But then, if again, this is the problem too, that at least we could find some common ground with these people if they at least had the opinion of, okay, we're okay with this policy, but no more. This is where we draw the line. But that's never what people say. They never and this is the same thing with the lockdowns. It was never okay. We're going to lock down for a month, but that's where we draw the line. We're going to have mandatory masks for a month, but that's where we draw the line. At least we could have some common ground if that's what their position was. But it really isn't. Their position is ad nauseum. We don't care how far we have to go. We can have, mandatory masks, mandatory vaccines, do exactly what we say, or we're going to shut your power and your electricity off. Again, that's where we're at too. And again, people don't realize just how slippery of a slope this is. People just don't realize it. And again, they don't realize it because they're ignorant of history. They are ignorant of history. And that's the big problem. So anyway, I just wanted to bring this up because this is a very, very scary precedent. And if people go for it, like I say, it is incredibly scary that so many people are going for it. It is incredibly scary. So anyway, I'm going to leave the video there. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. If you haven't already, make sure you check out those links here in the description. Follow me on those other platforms, and stay tuned for more.